Welcome back, everybody, to the Leaders Talk Podcast, where we talk to leaders in every industry to see how they got to where they are today. And today, it's my honor to interview Jason Hammond. Jason Hammond is a 3-star D lineman out of St. Thomas Aquinas High School, and he's currently committed to University of Virginia. And he's currently leaving there this Saturday. And more importantly, we're going to see what type of leader he was and the trials and tribulations to becoming who he is today. So, we got to start it off with the most important question. Coke or Pepsi?
Pepsi.
You're the first person. This is the documentation purpose. You're the first person to ever give an answer for that. Usually I always ask everybody, they're like, nah, I don't drink soda.
But I just felt like the question had to be answered. If I would, was it either or?
I like the honesty because a lot of people haven't answered the question. It's kind of frustrating. But now the next important question, candy or chocolate?
I don't eat either.
You have to say none for either. And then another one. Favorite memory on the football field?
Oh man, my favorite memory on the football field was probably the first game of the season versus St. Joseph. I got my first sack that game. It was a big statement setter for the season. Especially how the D-line was coming. Because going into the season, a lot of people thought our D-line wasn't going to be as good as the previous years. But, that first game set the standard. I think we all went crazy that game. I got the first sack on ESPN, my people in the crowd. Man, that was just...
That was senior year, right?
Senior year. That feeling was just unreal.
Yeah. Okay, so now, since we got the most important questions out the way, right? The most important questions in life. Now we're going to get on this little timeline, right? A 3-stage timeline of you becoming the leader that you are today and where you see yourself ultimately in the future.
All right.
And your past, obviously. So in this first segment, I want to talk a little bit about and highlight your childhood. So everybody has those memories that they cherish as a child, the little things that they remember from their parents, the leadership in infancy from middle school, elementary, leading the line. What were some of your leadership in infancy moments as a child in middle school to elementary? Like in your Pee-wee when you played football or in school, in the classroom?
So I actually started playing football when I was 6 for Pasadena. And I took I want to say about a 3-year break from tackle football, ended up playing flag football. But, part of me realized, I could really make something of myself playing tackle football. I go to college for it.
Yeah.
So, I think playing flag football is where I really developed myself as a person, and as a leader, being able to take over the team and understand, that this is a team sport and everybody has to do their part to win the game.
Yeah.
I think that's really what set the foundation for me to become who I am today.
Yeah. Actually, kind of highlighting about that. So you didn't start tackle football right away?
No, I didn't.
What age did you start playing?
So I said I started at 6, but I didn't really start taking it seriously till I was 12. Yeah. I ended up playing for West Palms.
Yeah. Damn. It was very powerful because a lot of people I feel like a lot of younger middle schoolers, they feel like disadvantaged because they start tackle football a little bit later. Yeah, but in reality, you're living proof of it, obviously. Yeah. But what were some of the early lessons that your parents taught you?
I think the early lessons that they taught me, just to never discourage myself. Even when things may seem like it's getting hard, it's always something to overcome. Just put your head down and grind. Storms don't last, and just stuff like that, just to keep me going, motivated. Yeah. That I cherish every day.
Yeah, basically like the course. Yeah. You kind of live with it every day.
Right.
So you said you started taking football serious when you were 12.
Yeah.
Middle school era, 6th, 7th grade. Did you know automatically hey, I'm gonna become this star football player with 19 offers coming out of high school?
Nah, I didn't. If you knew me when I was younger, I don't think anybody really saw this coming from me. I was always a big kid, but I was a kid that I didn't really like doing stuff, besides playing the game all day. And then part of me, I don't know, just something in me snapped, and it made me realize, there's more to me than just sitting on the couch playing the game all day. There's stuff that I'm good at besides, playing the game.
So what exactly snapped? Was it a mindset? Was it?
I think it was definitely a mindset thing. You know, when I decided to get back into playing tackle football, that's when the realization hit me that I could really, you know, make something of myself playing this sport. You know, I could really, you know, pay for my college education for free. So, you know, it's just stuff like that that hit me at a young age that made me believe that I could still get the job done. Even starting as late as I did, you know, a lot of these kids been playing football since they were 6.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you think about it, it's really never too late to start anything. You know, it's you got people starting all kinds of stuff late in life and still end up being great at it. So that was kind of just my mentality that no matter how late I started, you know, I could still be one of the best at my age.
Yeah. So you started playing 6, 12, you started in West Pines, you went to West Pines.
Yeah.
Were you automatically a star athlete, like when you got on the field?
Uh,
You could be honest.
Yeah,
You could be
I was,
honest.
but I think most of it had to do with the fact that I was just a big kid. You know, I was 12 years old. I don't look as big as I was then, but I was about, I want to say I was about 270 at the age of 12. I was a big guy, so I was also playing O-line. So I mean, many people didn't see this coming from me, you know, making the switch to play D-line. But I had a couple coaches that saw the potential in me, and I thank them every day for that.
Yeah. That was good. So now we got the juice out of that first stage, and we see that some of the early lessons that you had in your before high school era and some of the things that your parents taught you. Now getting to the second segment, we're going to get into the high school, right? In the macro, not only is it the high school, but it's kind of like where you really made a name for yourself, right? In high school, that's when you started building up your reputation. Coaches started to know you. Came out of there with 19 offers, but big D1 schools, like not like little pee-wee schools, like big schools. What do you think allowed you to be that D1 athlete? Like specifically, what if you had to name 5 qualities? If you had to name 3 qualities, characteristics that you had that enabled you to become who you are today, what would you say they were?
You know, first I go with leadership, then I go with determination, grit. I'm at 3, discipline, and focus. I feel with those things, you know, it kind of allowed me to take over my game. You know, learn how to do the hard stuff, even when you're tired. You know, it's the perseverance that made me who I am. You know, even when learning not to quit, no matter how hard things get, that's what really, you know, drove me to become who I am today.
Were there ever any times in high school where you decided to quit, or not decided to quit, but you were in that bridge of like, should I really do this?
I want to say, I think like my sophomore year, I was like, you know, I wasn't getting no burn. I had just made the switch from offense to defense, and I was at Chaminade, and you know, I kind of felt like, damn, I don't think, you know, this might be for me. You know, I was kind of having those thoughts here and there in the back of my head, because you know, sitting on the bench, it sucks.
Sophomore year, you were on the bench.
Sophomore year, I was on the bench.
At Chaminade.
At Chaminade, but you know, I was playing behind a UM commit, so I mean,
Sorry guys, we got kind of cut off. The camera died. We're still getting new to this whole podcast interview thing, but we're gonna get there. We're working with what we got. But going back to a little bit what you said that you were behind the Chaminade,
UM commit,
the UM commit. So,
yeah, I mean, Alan Hay, defensive tackle, he graduated, I want to say graduated 2 years before me. That was a guy, you know, I looked up to, especially my sophomore year. Got working with him over COVID. A guy that, you know, at a time where I was just transforming over to defense, I didn't really know much about it. You know, that's a guy that, you know, that helped me on his off days where he could have been doing something else. You know, he decided to help me get work in. So it was just stuff like that helped me into molding who I am today.
Yeah, and kind of looking back, you're grateful for that. Like,
yeah.
Although you didn't
Definitely.
start his position, he low-key got you.
Yeah,
he helped you a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's important. Because you know, like we were just talking about, a lot of people, even big-time CEOs, big-time businessmen, they have someone along their line. Like if you ever listen to any of the interviews, like somewhere along their line, they had someone that was much like where they wanted to be that helped them out. Right. And I think that's an important lesson for you guys to take with you too. Because I mean, if you have someone that's better than you that wants the best out of you, I mean, it really boosts you to where you want to get.
Right.
So, continuing a little bit about some some of your failures, and we're gonna go to your wins. But what was one of the biggest failures, or actually, what was a lesson that you learned from one of your failures in high school? And it doesn't only have to be on the field, but something maybe you went through mentally, a battle you went through, like.
You know, I say a failure that I learned my sophomore year. You know, like I said, I was on the bench. You know, that's a feeling that I take that as a failure because I felt like there was more I could have did. You know, to prepare myself for that upcoming season. There was always more I could have did to, you know, to put myself in a different position than I was in for that season. And I consider that a failure. And it was something that molded me because I didn't want to have that feeling again, that feeling of, you know, sitting on the bench, feeling like you could have played, but you were on the bench. You know, I didn't want to put that on the coaches to say, all right, maybe he's good enough, maybe he's not. I wanted it to be a definite possibility that I could play.
What did you take from it ultimately? Like, what's the big bold that you took from it?
I think the biggest thing I took from that is that nothing comes without hard work. You know, you just can't wake up and expect to play. You know, I think that happens a lot nowadays. People don't want to put in the work to get where they want to be. And you know, that was me at one point. You know, I was just on the field. I didn't think I necessarily had to put in extra work to get where I wanted to be. I could just get by being big. But after a while, you realize, you know, that's not gonna fly at the higher levels, high school, college, pros. You know, that stuff doesn't work.
So just really putting your head down and working.
Yeah.
It was the big bold for you guys.
Yeah.
Were you the perfect straight A student in high school?
Oh, hell no. No. Excuse my language, but no, I wasn't. I was actually going through a couple things. You know, my grandmother had died my freshman year. So that kind of deterred me from focusing. And right after that, my sophomore year, my grandfather died. So, you know, it was just back to back. That kind of just messed me up a little bit. But I think I got back on track. I was always a good student in school, but it was just, you know, there's two little hindrances.
Yeah.
Not little, but
yeah.
It just, you know, it did something to me. I mean, everybody grieves different. And I think once that happened, you know, I wasn't just there mentally for school. And it messed me up a little bit.
Yeah. So would you consider yourself the student athlete, or would you say you're an athlete and a student? You're an athlete, but a part-time student.
I would definitely consider myself a student athlete. You know, I always feel like
he definitely means athlete and part-time student, but
so I just, you know, so it's funny because my mother's actually a guidance counselor, so you know, grades always came first in my house. Like I can't get away with, you know, doing anything if my grades aren't right. So it was definitely always being a student first before an athlete.
Yeah. And I think in the macro, sometimes like as athletes, it's like realizing that not only in the classroom, but other things like putting in the work. Sometimes you don't want to do a certain drill or do a certain something, but it's getting you to where you want to get.
Right.
And it's doing the things that you don't want to do now, but then coming back later and that being the thing that pushed you to the next level. So wrapping it up a little bit from the high school era, what was the best piece of advice that you received from a coach? Or maybe something that you learned, not something vocal, something that you learned from a coach in high school?
I kind of want to do two things. You know, I always had great coaches throughout my high school career. You know, and I've learned great things from both of them. But probably the most, you know, two influential coaches, and aside from Coach Harriet, would probably be Jason Taylor and Andre Carter. You know, I was coached by Jason Taylor my junior year. And, you know, the biggest thing he told me was to never doubt yourself. You know, I feel like that I struggled with that a lot early on in my career. My junior year, you know, it was my first time starting. I didn't think, you know, I was good enough to make these plays, or if I mess up here, I might get took out. It was just like the mental aspect of the game that kind of screwed me over at some points. But, you know, he just let me know, you know, you're going to be good no matter what. You know, he told me he sees the potential in me. And, you know, as long as I keep my head down and work, that kind of stuck with me. And then Andre Carter, Coach Carter, I don't know if you know who that is, but he played in NFL 10 plus years, DN.
Yeah. He's at St. Thomas, right?
He was at St. Thomas last year. He was our D-line coach.
Yeah.
What the most important thing that he told me that stuck with me was, you know, just stop thinking too much. You know, I think I was a little too analytical in my earlier years of playing football. You know, I didn't want to make many mistakes. I overthought about everything I was doing, and I think it ultimately hindered me in my play a lot of times. And you know, when he told me, you know, stop thinking so much, even though it hit me later on in the season, it made me a better player. You know, just get up and go. Stop thinking about everything.
Talk a little bit about that. Like, what you mean you're overthinking? Like,
Well, you know, playing
like
defensive
you're
line.
overthinking about a girl, or you're overthinking about the plays?
No,
Like, what
no,
were you
no, no,
overthinking
no,
about?
no. All right, so playing defensive line, you know, it's a chess game. And football is a chess game in general. But you know, I don't think people really understand the mental games that goes on in the trenches when you play. I mean, before lining up, you know, I look at a lot of things: pre-snap reads, hand placement, you know, sets, and et cetera. You know, and I just think I was thinking too much, and that's what kind of hindered me. You know, thinking too much. And even that goes within life too. You know, you don't never want to think too much, because when you think too much, it stops you from doing stuff that really matters. So I mean, that's something I just took, even as a football player and as a student in life.
Yeah.
You know, you don't want to think too much about stuff.
Yeah. There was actually, I don't know if you've seen that post like on Instagram, but it was like two statues, and one of the guys was like here,
Yeah.
and it was like the thinker, and then
Yeah,
the other
yeah.
thing was a statue was empty, but it
doer.
had footsteps. So it was like the doer. So I don't know why I just thought about that. But all right, so now transitioning into the third stage,
All right.
and this is the future, the now, where you are now. Going to University of Virginia,
Right.
a big school. How do you think you're gonna be? Because you were an exceptional athlete in high school,
Right.
and sometimes there's this trend that athletes not sort of peak, but kind of peak in high school. Like they're really good in high school, but then they transition into college, and I don't know what happens,
Right.
but they're not the same type of athlete that they were.
Right.
How do you think you're not gonna fall into that?
I think, you know, a lot of times the people that do end up peaking in high school were people that came into high school kind of known already with names attached to themselves, you know, as the guy, or people that were going to do stuff in high school, you know, accomplish great things. But you know, for me, that was never me in high school. You know, I had to get out the mud. You know, nobody thought this was who I was going to be. Graduated, I wasn't going to go to the University of Virginia. So I feel like, you know, starting over, going into my freshman year, you know, I just got to tap into that same mentality that I'm back at ground zero, trying to prove myself over again.
Yeah. You excited about college?
Oh yeah, I'm definitely excited. Definitely excited. That's why I'm leaving early. You know, just ready to attack.
What time were you supposed to leave? Like
Saturday, at least.
no, like
Saturday.
you said you're leaving early.
Yeah, I leave Saturday. I want to say I got my flight at 7 a.m.
Or you're talking about like time early?
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about like the date is early. Like you're leaving earlier instead of leaving like in June or something.
Yeah, I'm leaving in May.
Is that early?
Yeah.
When are you supposed to leave then?
So the rest of my teammates get up June 17th.
Oh, so you're going.
Yeah, me and Takai leave early. We leave the 20th.
But do you get on the field already, or just to get a feel of the campus and stuff?
Yeah. I mean, the whole point of us leaving was, of course, to establish, like, get our credits.
Yeah.
But you know, being up there early also allows us to be ahead of the game. You know, getting the playbook.
Yeah.
You know, getting an extra month of weight room.
Yeah.
So you know, when other guys come in, we won't have to be put aside with the rest of the freshmen.
Yeah.
Ready to learn, you know, other things.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you? I think now you're starting a few. I don't know if I don't want to speak for you, but I think. Do you sort of feel that sense of urgency of like, okay, now it's like it's kind of hitting, like college is right here, and before I know it, then whatever else I want to do in the life, the NFL, my career, whatever is gonna come after that. So I need to kind of have a sense of urgency that these short 4 years, I need to like hustle, like I need to really work. Do you feel that a little bit?
Yeah. Oh, definitely, for sure. I feel like, you know, going into college, you know, nobody really has a name to themselves.
Yeah.
Everybody back at ground zero, playing and starting from the bottom. So I think the biggest thing for me is just to establish myself early on as somebody that, you know, could be a purposeful player in the program, as well as a great leader and student of the game.
Yeah. What type of leader do you want to be? Because you keep going back, like what you said, the qualities that you said, you wanted to be a leadership, and you keep coming back to a leader. What does it mean to be a leader?
To me, I feel like being a leader is somebody that you could look up to. Somebody that you could follow after. You could look at when maybe you don't know what you're doing. You look at the leader and be like, all right, let me follow his role, his lead, and it's for the greater good. Somebody that the team looks up to. At least for me, this past season, the leader, me and Brody, the leader of the trenches. People were able to look up to us and be like, all right, yeah, that's where we want to get to, and that's what basically being a leader is to me. Somebody that's always gonna be there. When you need to step up and leads.
What drives you? Is it making it to the NFL? Is it what
Um,
really drives you?
yeah, I think NFL is definitely always a goal of mine, but I think the main thing that really drives me would be my grandparents. Hit me. I just texted my cousin. I got a cousin that plays in the NFL, and I just texted him the other day. Both my grandparents. I said my grandparents died my freshman sophomore year, and they were never able to see me play on the field getting real minutes because before they died, I was just a bench player or I just ain't I never played. But every time I suit up, I got them in the back of my mind. I write their names down somewhere, whether it's on my sleeve or my socks or somewhere. Just remember that they always with me, they always looking at me, and that's what keeps me going.
So they're a big part of your life.
Oh, definitely. I definitely had close relationships to the both of them. My grandmother actually stayed down here, so I'd be at her house like almost every day.
Yeah.
So, my grandmother was my best friend.
What do you think you taught them? Because I think a lot of times death brings the best out of people. Like you
Right.
never remember, you don't hold a grudge, you don't like remember all the bad, you remember the best out of. What were some of the best things that you learned from them?
The best things of what?
That you learned from your grandparents, like the best of
Um,
your grandparents that you took for yourself.
I think the best of the things I took for myself, is to take care of myself. My parents stressed mental health as well as, taking care of your body. That was a big thing in my family that they told me they had wished they done it younger than life. So as I'm growing up, the biggest thing I try to do is make sure that, I'm listening to that and I'm heeding their warnings, and taking care of myself. So especially as I get older, I just want to be all right, I'm straight. So that's the biggest thing for me that I took from them.
Yeah. I think wrapping it up, now we're starting to see the leader that you're molding yourself into in a way. A lot of help from your grandparents, your positional leaders, the
Right.
coaches, a lot of different people.
Right.
And now you come to this point, where, like you said, you're at the brink. You're about to go to high school or about to go to college. Stuff is about to start getting real.
Right.
What do you wish to carry from looking back at your life? And what do you wish to eliminate?
What I wish to carry is that same drive I had coming into high school. That drive of wanting to be the best. That drive of proving myself. No matter how good you get, you'll always have to prove yourself to somebody. And if you had to prove yourself to somebody, you prove yourself to yourself. And that was kind of my biggest thing. That I don't really have to prove myself to anybody, but I want to prove myself to myself that I know I can do what I'm capable of doing.
Yeah.
And something I don't want to say, I don't want to keep with me. I say is doubt, fear, regret. I just feel like those three things kind of put a hindrance on your mind. Even when you're capable of doing something, you get an instant doubt, fear. That stuff hinders you from doing what you can be capable of doing.
Yeah. And then wrapping it up, the last two questions. What did faith play a role in getting to where you are today?
Oh man, so I always been big on faith. I've been avid in the church, in AME church since I was born. So I always felt like I've had God in my life, and even with my grandparents passing, I had my doubts and my faith, but I was able to overcome that. I look back and I thank God for the position He's put me in, and all the good He's done in my life, and the good He will continue to do in my life. Because I know without Him, I probably wouldn't be where I am today.
Yeah. And then finally, to the athlete out there, that person that's just starting something, entrepreneurship,
Right.
that the student that's kind of going through the same thing you went through today, they were kind of behind in taking football serious. They didn't start like when they're 5, like started playing tackle and started taking it serious. What's your recommendation to that person to kind of shed hope to them, that their dreams could actually become reality?
Well, my recommendation to them is, don't doubt yourself. No matter what people may say, no matter how old you are, it's never too late to start doing something that you might love or you're interested in doing. I started late. I know plenty of people that started late playing this sport, and I'm still trying to start stuff. I know. So something I'm trying to learn now is make beats. And I know I'm 18 starting.
Make beats?
Yeah.
Like
Producing,
like
producing music.
that's pretty good.
So I mean, I know people that have been doing it since since out the womb, since they was like 10 years old making beats, and but that's not going to discourage me because I know what it feels like to start something late, and to still end up being great at it. So
Yeah.
To me, it's just another stepping stone to get over.
Yeah. So what was your final, because you kind of cut yourself off, what was the final message to someone there?
Yeah. Final message, just don't doubt yourself. No matter what you may think, or however late you may feel like you started, it's never too late to start something that you want to do in life, and that's really it.
Guys, I honestly think you guys could comment down below. You guys could say whatever you want to say, but I think we're able to see a lot of sides from Jason. We're able to see a side of humility, a side of drive, a side of character building, a side of doubt. I think that was one of the biggest things that you went back to. And I think that's good because a lot of, as a leader, right, since this whole thing is about leaders talk, is being able to accept your vices, your doubts, right? The bad things that are in your head, whatever it may be, and accepting it and being like, you know what, okay, I don't want it to always be like that, but obviously moving forward. But above all that, I really do think it was very informative and entertaining. I hope it hit one of you guys out there, and you guys were not only able to see this side of Jason, but able to take some of the things you heard and apply it to your life and whatever you're doing. So thank you guys so much for making it to the end of the video if you did. And feel free to check out another video somewhere here. And anything else you want to leave off?
And y'all be great, man.
Be great. Well, see you back on the next one.